they were John and Robert. Robert was my husband. John was his half brother, and he was his half brother. Anyway, he was plowing over there, and the horse snorted, and all when he got near the creek. So he went over to look in the creek, and he saw Hub Ferguson's body floating in the creek. So he went and got my husband then, and he told him. So they went and looked, and sure enough, that's what it was. So they came home, and Robert called me. I was up to Bobby and Ida Francis, where the farm that was Hub's. And he called me, and he says, get the detective and come down here, but don't tell nobody. Well, we went up the road, and they'd just come back from hunting one field, and my brother was there, and I called him over to the car, and I says, get Detective Gordon, but don't tell anybody. Tell him to follow us. So he did, and they was building the new road from Sparta to Sanders at that time. It's nothing but dust, and so we came down there, and of course we picked up Robert, and then the detective followed, and they went down to the creek where he was found, and got the body. And my sister-in-law and I, the children stayed there at my house while they were hunting. But all the traffic and the dust was terrible. Everybody was hunting where they went to. But that was it.
Were you involved in the investigation that followed?
Oh yes, people came and asked questions, magazine editors and all that. My husband and brother-in-law was up on the kitchen roof putting a new roof on. They came from Life magazine wanting to interview you. And did you know this? And he says, you find the body and who did it, and says, then I'll answer all the questions you want. So, but we went through that all that year. It was terrible.
Had to have been a troubling time.
It was terrible. And we didn't see a thing, but we didn't know what they thought we seen. And if we went out during the day, we either stayed all night or else we got back before dark because we were scared all summer. It was awful.
Completely understandable. Now I'm going to ask a few questions related to some of the notable events that happened in our country's history. Like, do you remember when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor?
Yes.
What were you doing when that happened?
I was in Warsaw at my grandmother's, and I was practicing a Christmas play at the Methodist Church in Warsaw. And the news came in that they bombed Pearl Harbor.
What was your reaction?
Well, of course, I was young, but naturally, I was worried about it, you know. But then, it's new, and I was young, and I didn't realize as much as what it was going to be as it was.
How did World War II affect life here at home for you?
Well, all of our men was gone to service, and I was a senior in high school. There was 3 men in my class, and because all the rest of them was in service, and it affected. You couldn't get the labor. You couldn't get different groceries. You couldn't get.
Rationing.
They were all rationed. Your shoes were rationed. Tires were rationed for a car. Gasoline was rationed, and I guess your regular clothes, I don't guess they were rationed, but your shoes were rationed. And then gasoline was rationed, and I don't know if anything else was or not, but it was rough times. But we didn't have nothing like our boys over there getting killed. We might have felt sorry for ourselves, but we weren't over there getting shot at and getting killed and in foxholes and so forth.
Very true. What about when the war ended?
We were all thrilled. Of course, in Germany when it ended, I think I was still in school at that time.
I think it was
And
May 8th.
we all got out and marched down to the courthouse and celebrated. And then in August, when we had VJ Day, well, I'd been out on a date, and I'd just come in from a day, and my sister lived in Chicago, and the phone was ringing, and she just called me that it was VJ Day. And, so.
I see. Let's move up a few years. How about the assassination of JFK? Do you remember when?
It was terrible. Yes, I remember it, and it was terrible. I was at Warsaw in an extension meeting, and heard it, and then came home, and Bob and them were in the stripping room, and I went in and told them what had happened. Or they just heard it on the radio one, but anyway, we discussed it.
What was the atmosphere when that happened? I mean, I imagine it was very troubling.
Just shocking. Shocking was more or less it. It was just, everybody was so surprised, and what's going to happen now, things like that.
Can you imagine? Anything you'd like to? All right. What are some of the greatest changes you've seen in Gallatin County in your years?
Well, one thing, there's more money.
Yeah.
You know, more traveling, more traffic. Our grocery stores are pitiful. When we were young, we had a good grocery store that you could go in and get everything you needed. And a lot of time, and I don't know how they did it, but a lot of the grocers would let you charge groceries from winter until you sold tobacco the next year.
Wow.
Now, how they managed that, I don't know. But I know after I was married and went to housekeeping, a lot of times we charged groceries from the end of March until December when we sold tobacco. And then paid the bill.
I remember hearing stories about when, like, Glencoe and Sparta were big bustling towns.
Oh, yes. Oh, Sparta was called Beer and Bull Day. We had a stockyard in Sparta, and every Thursday they brought stock there and sold them. Well, then we had about 5 or 6 saloons, and they'd come and drink, and they'd sell their stock, and then the women would sit at the grocery stores, and you get all the gossip or visit at the grocery stores, and all the women did.
That's a lot of saloons.
Yeah, it was. I think there was, at one time, I think there was 8 saloons in Sparta.
Wow. Not like that now.
Well, everybody travels now. They still drink as much, but they travel.
Owen and Carroll County were dry, so
Oh, I can
they
see
all
that.
had to come to Sparta to get them.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of demand in that case.
Mm-hmm. And all the traffic, it was a half a mile from town that was parking. They parked on both sides of the road and all going up to town.
All right, the next question is a little political, just to warn you. What president do you think did the most for the country?
That's a good question. I hate to judge. I don't know.
Don't know.
There's good and bad. Some's done good and some's not so good. so I really don't know.
Well, here, I just realized I missed one of the most important events. The Great Depression back in the 1930s. That affected every facet of life.
That affected everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't have any money. Period. And you raised your own food. You sewed your own clothes. If you got a yard of material to make a little dress out of or something, you did. And I know when one year, mother was sick, and my oldest sister made me 2 or 3 little dresses to wear to school, and I started to get ready on Monday morning to go to school, and somebody had stolen the dress. So I had to wear a dress from the year before that was too short, so I had to wear a coat all day because my dress was too short.
Oh, that's horrible.
But that's just the things you went through. You know, nobody didn't have the money or anything. And as a neighbor, we knew who it was. Of course, we couldn't do anything about it. But my mother was sick and down to my grandmother's, and we all went to see her. While we were gone, they got into the house, bought groceries, stole groceries that we bought on Saturday night, stole my clothes, and went to the smokehouse where the meat was hanging and stole some of that. Anyway.
Desperate times.
Yeah, it was rough times.
What are you most proud of?
My son and his family. No, I'm really proud of my family, good Christian family. And to me, that's the main thing. Money is something we have to have in order to have exchange. But I don't put money first. As long as I have what we have to have, that's the main thing. And as I say, Dale was sick a lot when he was a baby. But as I've gotten older and learned, I think a lot of it was environment. We burned coal stoves and wood stoves. And then my husband smoked all the time and was in a little closed-in room to where all that was there. And he had bronchitis, laryngitis, ear infection, throat infection, all this upper respiratory. And after he started to school, he got better. So he was out of the environment several hours a day. So this is hindsight, but later on then he had ear infection when he was 9 months old and was in the hospital and dehydrated. And we come near losing him. But thank the Lord we didn't. So that's just the things you went through with sickness and no money and the way we had to live. And now I have my home convenient, electric baseboard heat, air conditioning, and I'm in the nursing home. But my granddaughter moved in with me and she's enjoying the home. So it isn't just sitting there. So there's always something to be thankful for.
Of course, of course. All right, just a few more questions.
Okay.
Did you ever meet anyone famous?
Do I?
Did you ever meet anyone famous?
No, I don't know. I did or didn't.
I can understand that.
Excuse me a minute, I gotta go to the restroom.
All right.